We're good. So, I am back in my original spot today. The basement is occupied, and this was available. So, I figured why do it from my room if I can do it in the dining room where I can actually sit down and talk. So, I believe the TV is on in the basement. I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it. Just letting you know. So, this is episode 22 of a series I do every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time called Fallen World. I have another channel where I do a different show every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time called Just Between Us, and that channel is called Philosophical Psychology. What is that? Oh my god, that's the TV. Good lord, that is loud. My grandma's a little hard of hearing, so I think she's like sewing or something. She's doing something down there that might be making extra noise, but that is really high volume on the TV down there. Anyway, hopefully that isn't going to distract you guys, because I don't feel like moving my setup to my bedroom, so we're doing it from here either way. I did let her know I was live, so she knows that if she comes up, I'm going to be doing this. And let's just get into this. So, today, oh, there is a fly. Is that what I'm looking at? You little fucker. I apologize for the interruptions today. I just killed a fly, I'm sorry. Flies are not welcome in this house. I've heard they only live 28 days anyway, so he would have just been wandering around lost for a little while and then eventually died anyway, so quick death is better. Because, you know, they can never seem to find their way out, but they always seem to want to come in. Because they're at the bottom of the food chain. If they're out there, something's just going to pick them up and eat them, or they'll get caught in a web, you know. So basically they are born to die, literally. That's all that they are, is just food. So that leads me to the concept of being pro-life and believing that murder is always wrong, which is actually kind of timely because I was planning on talking about that anyway. Not in the context of abortion, but in the context of the Trump assassination, actually. Because I feel like that is more relevant and more in my head. I've heard a couple people say things about this that don't sit well with me, and I couldn't figure out why. You know, because on a surface level, what they're saying sounds logical, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but it didn't sit right with me. I was like, no, but I don't agree with you. And I've just figured out the best way to articulate it. I was texting my friend about it right before the live stream, and I think I have a good way to put it. So, regarding killing a fly, I just explained why it really is not that big of a deal. You kill germs, you kill all sorts of things that are, you know, an inconvenience to you. You know, you'll probably, if you see a mosquito on your hand, you'll probably smack it. So if you judge me for killing a fly in my house, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. But there are people who will try to, and I think this is just entirely virtue signaling. There are some people, like my mom, for example, who just have really strong empathy, and they're like, that fly was my friend, and they're being dead serious. But then there are people who just virtue signal, and they're like, all life matters, and all lives matter, and blah, blah, blah. and they just have these kind of bullshit opinions, um, who, just, sorry, there is a commenter who I'm gonna have to ignore. If you are watching the live chat replay and you see his comments, we are just going to pretend he isn't there. At this point, I can call him someone who's harassing me. He has about 15 million different accounts, and he signs into all of them and just leaves bullshit comments. And it's because I called him out for being insane, and I didn't want to just sit there and let him keep leaving creepy comments on my channel. So now he attacks me from all of his other channels and leaves like 10 dislikes on my videos from all his different accounts, and he's just completely insane. So we're just going to ignore him. He's not going to say anything of substance. He never does. So I'm going to be trying my best to not look at the comments he posts. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I have a little bit of an advantage. And it's always nice to get practice ignoring unwanted interactions, because lots of people want your attention and want to drain you of your energy and make you feel worse than how you need to feel. And it is hard to stop giving them attention. I just had a situation with a friend of mine, and I think most people can relate to this. If you've ever had, like, I don't know, I typically think of gender as being like, you have a girlfriend who's constantly calling you and complaining about her boyfriend, and she's like, oh, he did this to me, and he did this, and blah, 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 and she's constantly complaining about how awful this guy is, and more importantly, how awful he makes her feel. And then you're telling her, girl, you gotta break up with him. What's wrong with you? He's clearly no good for you. And she's like, oh, you just don't understand him. He's not that bad. I know, I know better. I know him better than you do. And he has a good heart. He has good intentions. You don't get it. Can you relate to a situation like that? I've heard songs about it. I feel like it's pretty common, and it is really a frustrating position to be in, because you don't want to see your friend going through this, but there's nothing you can do. You say drop his ass, and they will not hear it. They insist that they know better, and it's because they think they're getting something out of it. They think that eventually the relationship or whatever it is will be what they want it to be, but the reality of it is, you're right where that person wants you. This guy, in the context of like a girl with a boyfriend, he wants her right where she is, and clearly it's working. He can keep her there without actually changing. The proof is he hasn't changed. Maybe he'll change just enough to keep you around. There's a term for that. I can't remember what it is, but my point is, it is a very frustrating position to be in when you're seeing someone go through this, because there's not much you can do aside from just being, lending an ear. But then eventually it gets frustrating, because it's like, how many times are you going to hear them complain about the same thing with the same person, and it's never going to get any better, but it's like you're just going around in circles. So how did I even bring that up? Oh yeah, it's hard to ignore someone. So it is a useful skill to learn, because that's what those people need, is how to just cut someone off and just say, I'm just going to keep going my own way, stay in my own lane, prioritize my own peace of mind, and just disregard anything that's trying to disrupt my peace. And that is what this commenter is trying to do, disrupt my peace. So always good practice to learn how to ignore this shit. Somebody said agree, but it's the commenter I was talking about from a different account. So anyway, let's get into the topic. So before I talk about the title of the video, which is Will Kamala Harris Win, and I am going to give a prediction on that, I want to address something that I've been hearing a lot of people say. So I've heard this from friends who I know are not Trump supporters, and even people who are like, surprisingly, this is, I'll just say this is an odd one out. But, I think it might just be because this person is kind of surrounded by Trump supporters and has people that they care about in their life, friends, family, who are Trump supporters. So there's a little bit of a confliction, I think, in this person's head. So that might be the only explanation for it. But we're going to get to that, actually, because I was even planning on addressing that anyway. So there are two YouTubers that I don't follow. One of them I follow, the other one I occasionally see his channel pop up in my subscriptions. And they both have addressed the Trump assassination recently and shared an opinion on it that I cannot get behind. Um, okay, so nobody's actually watching. It's just my crazy subscriber. Um, I'm sorry if you aren't the person who just said that, but I don't. You'll have to say something else to convince me. Because I need to make a list of how many different accounts this person has. So, um, where was I? Sorry, my brain is scrambled eggs lately. Um, yeah, okay, so this is what they said. Um, I never fully got a political opinion from these people. I don't know where they stand. They've never said anything to indicate that they lean in one direction politically, but you just kind of assume things, mostly when you follow people, you just sort of assume that they share your values. You hope that they would share your values rather than would be voting against them. Um, but yeah, so I'm still reading the comments. I'm just not, because how else am I going to know who it's from? Because they're all different accounts. But I'm just not going to engage with them. Just to explain, if you see me pause for a second and then try to refocus my train of thought. So I think in general you would hope that people align with your values that you're following. But this one person is someone who I didn't know too well, so this didn't really surprise me very much, but at the same time it was disappointing. Um, talking about how like people were saying, instead of, oh, I hope Trump is okay because he's a human being, and of course you would hope that a human being alive and well is a good thing. And she's saying, people are saying, damn, the shooter missed, and yet those people think they're good people, and that was how she worded it. And then this other guy, he's a therapist and he does reaction videos. Um, he uh, he was saying something about it, and he was saying the same thing, basically saying, if you are ever happy about someone getting shot, or you're disappointed that the bullet missed, like, he's explaining, like, this is a real human being and there was a real person that died, and these are real people and they're with real lives, and saying all this, and it's like, yeah, I get that. That sounds right. I can follow what you're saying and it makes sense, but something is not sitting right with me. Hearing you say that for some reason is really bothering me. So I made it my goal to figure out why, because usually that's what I do. To figure out where I stand on something, or how I feel if something's moral or immoral or whatever, I usually go with my gut first, and then I try to figure out why my gut said that. Because maybe it's not based on logic. Maybe it's just maybe it's based on programming. Maybe somebody put an idea in my head a long time ago, or maybe I've just been picking up on everyone else's ideas subconsciously, just being part of the world. Maybe it isn't actually intuitive or natural or logical at all. So it is worth examining, but most of the time I'm pretty good at trusting my instincts, and it is intuitive and logical. And sometimes I get the intuition before the logic, and then I figure out the logic later. So that's what happened with this. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Let me figure out why. Um, so, um, here's my opinion on it. Sorry. Again, just processing the comments I just read. I'm not going to read them out loud or respond to them, but just trying to get them out of my head now. I'm going to have to start blocking this person, like all of his accounts, as they pop up, because this is just getting to be ridiculous. If I could, like, go to the police, honestly, that would be really satisfying, if they were able to actually figure out who this person really is and what he really looks like and where he really is, and then I could get a freaking restraining order. But I don't think that's realistic. I hate involving police. It's like a last resort for me. Realistically, what I'm going to do is just block every account I'm aware of. Um, Stop streaming if you don't like feedback. Um, it's not feedback I don't like, it's you, my dude. Like, seriously, I hate you so much. I wish you didn't exist. I want you to leave me alone. I have said that 15 million times in 15 million different ways, and you just find me from 15 million different accounts. Leave me alone. I hate you. I hate you so much. You're a disgusting, vile waste of space, and you're doing nothing with your life but watching random YouTubers and leaving creepy comments on their profiles. And you're also engaging inappropriately with them in private, which I know about because you tried to do it to me. Um, no one watches you but me. Okay, well, that's not true. My last video got over 1,000 views and 60 comments. So shut up. Um, I just really, really hate you. Like, seriously. And you also just admitted that you are the same person with 15 million different accounts. So, I already knew that, but just, because you tried to act like I was crazy for saying that before, now I have proof. Oh, message retracted. Okay, how convenient that now you're gonna start deleting all your shit. That's another reason I don't want to involve police. You delete too much. I don't have proof that you're harassing me, but that is what this is. And as much as I try to ignore it, it is hard to not read a comment when it pops up. I think I'm going to start doing these pre-recorded a little bit more often because of him, because, I don't want to derail the topic. I want to stay focused and just continue with the topic. I don't want to get distracted by this fucker's comments. He can fuck off and die. God, what a vile human being. Just not even human. Just like just a leech. Just like something that just lands on you and just starts sucking your blood. Just absolutely disgusting. It's a parasite. So anyway, where did I leave off? The YouTubers and their opinions, and my opinion on their opinions. Yeah. So it isn't just these two people. I've heard a lot of people say this. Even a friend of mine said this. And what they're effectively saying is that it's wrong and you're not a good person if you are disappointed that the bullet missed Trump. And my argument to that is, would you tell a Jewish person to be disappointed that Hitler is dead? If, when Hitler was alive, somebody tried to assassinate him and missed, would you tell the Jewish people that they're evil for being disappointed that the bullet missed Hitler? Or would you say, yeah, that's totally understandable. Hitler is actively trying to destroy you and make your lives a living hell. So I completely understand why you don't want him to be around. And that's what you have to understand about Donald Trump. He is actively trying to ruin a lot of people's lives. And I don't just say this from a place of uneducation and you're sick, I'm reporting this video. Well, I've reported you. I've reported your accounts. What are you reporting this video for? I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. It isn't just coming from a place of propaganda. And this is what a lot of people try to say, is that, oh, it's just a matter of disagreement, we don't need violence. It's just about disagreement. It's like, yeah, it's not that simple. This isn't just, do we like coffee black or with cream? Or do we like Pepsi or Coke or whatever? This is, do we like people who are actively trying to strip us of our freedom and rights, and in some situations, literally get people killed and moved and ran out of the country? My friends and family are talking about moving if Trump wins. Like, that's how bad his plans and Project 2025 are. Like, this is seriously bad, and it's going to affect people on a personal level. If you actually know people who've been horribly affected by things that Trump has put into place already and intends to put into place in the future, it's bad. And it's not just what he's going to do personally, it's what he's going to inspire other people to do. Think about all the hate crimes that are going to be committed. All of the bullying people literally to the point of suicide or just beating them to death physically. These things are already happening, and it's going to only get worse if he wins, because these people are going to feel even more inspired to do it. So it's just it's really really bad, and I cannot sugarcoat it enough. It is bad. Him winning would be a complete disaster, and there are a lot of people whose lives would be directly impacted by this in a very tangible negative way. So of course his death would be a great relief to them. His death would mean I'm safe, at least for now, at least from this specific threat. And you could say the same thing about Hitler. You could say, well, if Hitler was dead, someone else would just take his power and do the same thing. Maybe, but not necessarily, because Hitler was a very specific kind of evil. And everyone says that. A lot of people say, if you go back in time, you're supposed to kill Hitler. People seem to be in support of it in that case. And I don't imagine very many people would tell a Jewish person that they have no right to be happy about Hitler's death. But for some reason, people are not seeing how similar Trump is in that way. He is a very, very arrogant and insane and mentally unstable and very, very dangerous man. And the world is a better place without him. And his supporters, honestly, are just as dangerous. In fact, it was a Republican who tried to shoot him, which proves my point. It is the Democrats, the left-wingers, who are against violence, who want to reduce access to guns. And if the Democrats had access to do that, maybe the Trump supporter that shot him wouldn't have had the gun in the first place. I don't know that he was a Trump supporter, obviously, because he tried to kill him, but he was definitely a registered Republican. Um, and he was able to get his hands on a gun. Why is that? You know? Because of Trump and the Republicans who support him. They are the reason that the assassination was even possible. So there we go. And yet they're trying to act like we're the ones who are politically violent. Any violence on our part would be self-defense. It's very, very abundantly clear that Donald Trump is the aggressor, the attacker, the dangerous person, and we are afraid of him. You know, we don't just disagree with him. We don't just say, oh well, he's just someone who I disagree with, and I wish that he wanted Coke instead of Pepsi or whatever. No, 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 no. It is way more complicated than that. And by trying to simplify it to that degree, you're just showing how you are clearly not affected by his policies. And what really disappoints me is there are even supporters who are affected by his policies. But like I said, they've got friends and family who kind of brainwash them. And they're just so deluded with all of this Trump nonsense that even though they understand on some level that he's not a good person, they still can't help but being exposed to all of the beliefs of his supporters. And it does taint your perspective a little bit. It's hard to get a clear perspective when you have all of these people around you shoving their beliefs down your throat. Because as we know, Trump supporters are very, very loud. I have one in my comment section right now who keeps deleting all of his comments. They are very, very loud, and they are very, very insane. It should tell you all you need to know, that the crazy catfish who's been harassing me that I've been telling you about is a very passionate Trump supporter and a Christian. So there you go. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. And look how embarrassed he is. He's deleting all of his comments because he knows that he sounds insane and that he is insane, and he's embarrassed. And he's literally just trying to rustle my feathers. He's trying to bother me and get under my skin. That's his only goal. And that's what a lot of these people do, is they just want to bother you. There's this underlying sense of hatred and contempt for minorities and other people who just hate so much. And when I see Trump supporters, when I see these people, what I see is either arrogance and privilege or just unfiltered hatred. And it is terrifying. The privilege bothers me even more because it's riddled with virtue signaling and just oversimplification of politics, trying to act like they don't have to take a stance. It's like, well, believe whatever you want. No, I'm not going to say believe whatever you want. You should be a left-winger. I'm not saying Democrat necessarily, but you should be on the left, because right-wingers are absolutely batshit crazy. Republicans, conservatives, the whole right political spectrum is complete insanity. It does not represent freedom. It does not represent justice or any kind of morality in any sense of the word. There's no consistency in that belief system, and I can point out all the inconsistencies. It is complete insanity, and there's no way for me to sugarcoat it. That's what it is. So I will tell you that you shouldn't be that. I don't care what you are instead, but definitely don't be that. And if you try to be a centrist, you're basically trying to have it both ways. And where do the centrists go when the heat gets hot? To the right. So, if you truly care about human rights and justice and truth and consistency and integrity and freedom, you will be on the left political spectrum because there is no other moral stance. There just isn't. Um, Honestly, when I look at the candidates, I think Jill Stein is probably the best option, but she has like no chance at winning. So I am 100% rooting for Kamala Harris in this election. And I honestly feel good about it. So will Kamala Harris win? That's the question of the video. I think that Kamala Harris is representing a much needed change. And speaking from a spiritual perspective, I do think that um, this is kind of what the cards have laid out. Like this is destined. And I don't think she's going to win necessarily because of that, because there's still free will. No matter how hard the universe tries to set something into place, people can still use their free will. Donald Trump, for example, could slip and fall in the shower and die, and so could Kamala Harris. People could randomly decide to cast their votes in a different direction. There's nothing we can do to guarantee that that won't happen, but the way, excuse me, sorry, the way things are set up right now, it is looking like she's going to win. And it's more than just she's going to win. It represents a sense of genuine change and people really being more demanding about what they want and what they deserve. When I saw Biden and Trump, I could not have told you what I thought was going to happen by November. All I could tell you was something needs to change because it's not looking good. I didn't feel confident saying Trump would win, but I also didn't feel confident saying Biden would win. For once, I genuinely couldn't even envision myself voting Democrat. I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll vote for whichever candidate has the most supporters by November, but it I cannot picture it being Biden or anybody on the left at that point. It looked like there was no chance at anybody but Trump winning. But I was like, that doesn't mean things won't change between now and November. And lo and behold, we had a Trump assassination attempt, which would have guaranteed that he wouldn't become president if that had gone better. And then we also had Biden dropping out. So, two huge things that changed between the first debate and now. And even more can change by November, but I see a clearer path unfolding for what's going to happen. I think with Kamala Harris being the candidate, I can actually see her winning. And I see a lot more people standing up and rallying around her. She represents a sense of hope that we haven't had in a while and that I didn't see at all. When I listened to the Trump and Biden debate, all I had was just this bleak sense of what have we become? What is happening right now? It was really I was hoping Biden would be the voice of hope, but he could barely even get a sentence out. He looked like he was going to fall asleep or just drop dead or something. I mean, oh my God, it was really sad. And and Trump was the same as ever. Nothing's changed with him, of course. Um, but I mean, that man is going to live forever. He's a cheeseburger in the shape of a human being. He's just like built on preservatives. But yeah, Biden is like at death's door, and I did not see him beating Trump. There was no way. So with Kamala, I can actually see it happening. And I was listening to her earlier today, listening to what she wants to do, her plans and stuff, and it gave me a lot of hope because she's actually able to speak and she sounds really like she knows what issues people want to hear about. She was covering a lot of different things. I've heard people try to accuse her of only talking about specific things, but she was covering a lot of different issues. And she seems like she's educated on them and she knows what she's doing. And I think that's enough to get people to support her. Now, regarding actual political change, obviously voting has never been and will never be enough. That's not the end. It's not let's elect Kamala and then just wait for issues to fix themselves. We have to be doing things actively. We have to be protesting and speaking out and pushing for the changes that we need and demanding action to be taken. We can't just be passively sitting by and doing nothing. But it's going to be a lot harder to do that with Trump in the office because he is going to try to scare people into silence. Ironically, the free speech party, all they want to do is censor you and tell you what you can and can't talk about and shoot you if they don't like you. They're the ones who do that. They're the ones who believe in gun violence. And I know sometimes they'll be like, sometimes it's a trans person. Well, why does that trans person have access to a gun? Do you think maybe they were raised by conservatives and have a bunch of conservatives in their life? Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, even people who are minority groups are still surrounded by people who are insane, right wingers. So, there's just no excuse. And I've also heard people say the problem isn't guns, it's that people just want their 15 minutes of fame. They do mass shootings because they want to be in the news. First of all, you have no proof that that's why they're doing it. And I think that's kind of an insane assertion. And second of all, they still would not be able to do it if they didn't have access to a gun. So, point blank, the problem is guns. There's no arguing that. Um, they want to ban all sorts of things, but they don't want to ban guns. It's very, very weird. Like I said, inconsistent logic with these people. And again, inconsistent logic when they're saying, is it wrong to be disappointed that the bullet missed Trump? But then they're the same people who would say, if I had a time machine, I'd kill Hitler, and save all the people Hitler was trying to kill. So, and then they also support, like, the irony is, these are the same people who are like, oh, but Trump is a human being. First of all, so are the people that he's trying to hurt, who were, the minorities in the country, pretty much most people. I mean, you don't even have to be a minority. What he's doing is not going to be good for anybody except his like friends and then pretty much just the elite. That's it. He's like not even hiding that's like who's in charge in this country, but pretty much everywhere because capitalism is just a huge virus. But I'm not going to get into that right now. It's too complicated to explain. But if you have questions, go ahead and leave questions in the comments. I am willing to have you on for a debate if you want to have a video debate with me on the channel. It'd be vertical, but I did watch the one that I did. If it's called The First Debate, if you look at the playlist of Fallen World episodes on here, you can find it on my homepage on the channel. It's just Fallen World. A couple weeks ago, I did a debate, so that is a good example of what that would look like. I'm okay with having guests on for stuff like that. So if you want to debate me, go ahead, but I don't feel like explaining that right now, so just let me know if you have questions. Anyway, yeah, so basically, it's pretty bad, the idea of Trump winning. And the same people who are saying, oh my God, it's so horrible that he got shot. And even if you're a Democrat or even if you weren't planning on voting for him, you should still be hoping he's okay and wishing him well. These are the same people who turn a blind eye to the, like, thousands, tens of thousands of Palestinians who are being killed. Children, women, men dying, and no one cares because they're victims of circumstance. They didn't ask to be born there. They just are. And I know you can say politically it's more complicated than that. I'm sorry, when is it ever okay to try to wipe out an entire class of people? That's what genocide is. I've also heard people try to refute the idea that it is genocide. Well, I'm sorry. Have they not very explicitly said, finish the job? Get them all gone? I know that it's like, you could say, well, Israel is like the only place for Jewish people to go. It's the only place for them to call home. But the government there is so corrupt and has done so many horrible things and illegal things. And our country keeps funding them and allowing these deaths of thousands of innocent people. And Trump isn't going to do anything to stop that. To be fair, neither is Kamala Harris or Biden. They've been doing it too. But Trump isn't going to be any better. He's going to be worse. And the fact that people are okay with that and they don't speak on that, but then they'll speak on Trump, it's like, are you really trying to act like you're this morally virtuous person just because you're happy that Trump is alive? Trump is a horrible person. I'm sure a lot of these people are in favor of the death penalty. They're in favor of assassinations and executions when it's done by the government. They're in favor of all sorts of things. I'm sorry, but some people are genuinely dangerous and should not be around. I would never pull out a gun and shoot anyone. I would never try to kill Donald Trump or anybody for that matter. But I would be very, very relieved if one day I opened my phone and saw that Donald Trump had been shot. In fact, I was. And then I was like, wait, shit, but he's still alive? Damn it. That was my honest reaction. And like I said, I'm not a killer. I would never do it. And I think if someone did try to do it, that would really say a lot about where they are mentally. But it doesn't mean that it wouldn't have a really huge political impact. So it's just, it's a more ambiguous situation. And I hate how people are trying to speak on it as if it's like you're a bad person if you're relieved. Well, I'm sorry, but a Jewish person would be relieved by Hitler's death. You know, Hitler killed himself. And imagine hearing someone, if Trump killed himself, imagine hearing someone say, I'm relieved that he killed himself. You would think, oh, you're relieved about a suicide? But what if it were Hitler? You know, I imagine a lot of people were relieved when Hitler killed himself. But why is it not the same thing when it's Trump? Because you guys don't seem to realize how bad it is? People didn't realize how bad Hitler was back then. My God, like, are we really going to let history repeat itself? Now, I know a lot of people support Trump because they're just uneducated on how bad he is, and they have been brainwashed to think that everyone who opposes him is brainwashed, but that is nonsense. Do your research. Actually, read past the headline and look into shit. I promise you, you are never going to find anything that suggests Trump is the best candidate. Trump is insane. He is a complete lunatic, and he's a criminal. Like, I can't, you can't make this shit up. Other countries think our country is a joke, and they're not wrong. And Trump just adds fuel to that fire. He makes it look like even more of a joke than it already did. Kamala gives me a sense of hope. I'm not saying she's the end all be all, but she's a push in the right direction. Finally, a female president. Women should be in charge. And that is something I will stand behind. I said that even a couple months ago because the patriarchy has been a program we've all been living under for way too long, and it hasn't done anything except turn men into angry little spoiled babies who women have been carrying around. And the proof is that when women finally put them down, they couldn't even stand up. They just whined and cried, and women felt like they had to pick them back up. And then they were like, nope, I remember why I put you down now. And then they kept going. There is so much evidence, if you do research, that women thrive when they cut the men out of their lives, and men deteriorate with women not in their lives. Why is that? Because of the patriarchy. It's hurting men and women. So yeah, women need to be in charge. It is time to shift that. And I think that collectively we are moving in that direction. We have an opportunity. Don't waste it. You have to vote for Kamala Harris. Like, I know people try to say, you have to vote, finish the fucking sentence. Don't be a coward. Don't try to have it both ways. Don't virtue signal. Vote for Kamala Harris. Say the full thing. Don't cut yourself off. Tell people who to vote for. It is necessary. I'm so tired of people trying to act like you can be neutral on an issue like this. You can't. You've got a complete insane, dangerous person who needs to be stopped, and that's the reality of it. There's no way to be neutral on that. It's like the movie Don't Look Up, where they have a comet hurtling towards the Earth, and there was this one guy trying to be neutral and say, well, I just wish people wouldn't fight about whether or not we're all going to die. Either we are or we aren't. You can't be neutral on that. It's like, and that's the reality of it. It's like either Donald Trump winning is a good thing or it isn't. It cannot just be a matter of, well, we'll just let people have their opinions. It's really a lot more serious than that. And I know I can't change anyone's mind, but there are a lot of people who are uneducated on the issues who just hear, things. They're like, oh, I've heard bad stuff about Kamala, or oh, I don't know about Trump, but maybe we've had Biden for 4 years, and I don't know if Trump, not everybody who plans to vote for Trump or not vote at all or vote third party is actually a Trump supporter. Trump supporters are going to vote for Trump no matter what. They're totally way too far down the rabbit hole. There's no getting them out of it. Like the commenter that I have, the original account I knew him by was Dave, but I don't know the guy's real name. So I usually just refer to him as Dave because that's the first name I knew him by. But he's way too far down the rabbit hole, not just with Trump, but just in general. He's a complete psychopath who just spends every waking moment on YouTube commenting on people's live streams like mine and saying creepy, weird shit to them and telling them to do sleep streams and all sorts of weird shit. And, lying about my political beliefs and my relationship status, and trying to send pictures to me in private and trying to convince me that he looks like someone he isn't, and I reverse image search and I was like, what the hell? He did all sorts of crazy shit to me. And he alone does not represent how insane Trump supporters are, but he's pretty close. They're not all that insane, but they're pretty nuts, to varying degrees and in different ways. But the one consistent thing among all passionate Trump supporters is very, very bad mental health. Um, and my opinion on that is, I think of it as like, it's not that the dark is trying to snuff out the light. The dark is trying to steal the light. When you have an abuser in an abusive relationship, he's not trying to just beat you down. He's trying to steal your energy, which is why in an abusive relationship, usually the abuser looks amazing and is glowing, and the abusee is usually deteriorated and looks horrible, and just you can just see it. Um, they're siphoning your energy from you. And it's sort of like a drowning person flailing around, and then the rescuer comes and they drown the rescuer. The goal isn't to drown the rescuer. The goal is to keep their head above water, but they're doing it in such a panicked way that they aren't able to carry themselves, and then they just take the light down with them. So that's kind of what the darkness is. The darkness wants to steal the light, but that's not where the light comes from. So what you're doing is you're stealing the light, and then you're still dark afterwards. You have to get the light from the source, from the same place everyone else gets it. You can't just steal it from them. And when you don't think that way, when you think from a way of cheating and dishonesty and fear and control and ego and manipulation, you become mentally ill because you've detached from reality. And then you're going to want to steal from other people. So there's a lot of people just trying to get attention. They'll just leave negative comments just to get attention. A lot of men doing this too. They'll just say negative things. They'll even pretend to be women and leave comments and just say stuff just to bother people, just to rustle people's feathers. And that's what they're doing. It's an attempt to steal your energy. They want you to engage in a little mini comment war with them. They want to piss you off. You have to stop engaging with these people. Don't feed them. It's a bad idea. Like at the zoo, don't feed the lions. Like, do not feed these people. Look from afar, take notes, and move on with your life. It's not healthy. These people are drowning. They can swim. And if you go in and try to save them, you're both going to drown. You're not going to be able to help them. Keep your distance. So, yeah, seriously, Trump supporters are very, very mentally unstable. And Republicans in general. I saw a video, Republicans who support Trump versus Republicans who don't support Trump. And the way I read that is crazy people versus crazier people. um, and I say that because Republican values in the first place are not human values. They're capitalist values. They're values that benefit only a small number of people, and in a very deceptive way too. And there's very little consistent logic. So don't ever proudly call yourself a Republican. That does not make you look good. I recently met someone who generally has leftist opinions, but still calls himself a Republican for like financial reasons or something, and I thought that was very odd. That's not a good sign. That's like a major red flag in a person. Um, but just whatever. Yeah, so just be skeptical. I try to treat everyone with empathy and compassion and dignity, even when I'm talking to someone who, from a political standpoint or just from a general, like in a group standpoint, sort of like how when people put themselves in groups and you already have an opinion on that group. But when I meet people individually, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And even not just in groups, but also like when talking to a friend, like I mentioned, the the girlfriend with the toxic boyfriend when she's constantly complaining about him. You may say horrible things about that guy when talking to her, but for me, like if I were actually talking directly to the boyfriend, I would probably be nicer and more cordial with him to just kind of suss it out and see how he feels and how he is to me. I will only you know speak harshly to him in self-defense. If I feel like he's being disrespectful to me, then I'll defend myself. But I'm not going to just come at someone because I heard that they did something to someone else, because that's not my place, it's not my business. But I will still give them my honest opinion. If they bring it up and they're asking, they're like, what do you think about this? I'll be like, well, I think this is probably something that you shouldn't do, blah, blah, blah. But I don't ever want to come off as biased. I don't ever want anyone to feel like I have a um, like I can't think of the word, like I've already decided how I feel about them before I really give them a chance and get to know them on a personal individual level. However, there are certain red flags to look out for immediately and say, okay, this is not a good sign. So while I may still give this person the benefit of the doubt when I'm interacting with them, I generally already have an idea of what I can expect from them. And just be realistic in your expectations, but still treat people with dignity and respect. Now, in the case of the creepy commenter that I have plenty of personal interaction with him um, to be able to say that he is very severely mentally ill. And I don't know if he's dangerous, but he's definitely cyberbullying and harassing me. And just, my last video had like 0 likes and 10 dislikes, and I know they were all from him because he was the only person who watched it. Um, not my last, on my other channel. On this channel, my last video has 1,000 views and a lot of likes and hardly any dislikes. Because I covered something more topical, which I intend to do that more. I think people like pop culture stuff and like drama. And honestly, I kind of like pissing people off. It's kind of fun to just say things that I feel confident about, but in a way that people get angry at me because I know that it's completely their problem. Like I didn't say anything. My goal wasn't to make them angry, but I kind of knew that they would be at the same time. Um, so sort of like when you're just kind of like saying, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And then everyone comes and does it, and then they're mad, and it's like, "Well, you chose to do it. You're the one choosing to be angry." Um, so yeah, I do find it kind of interesting, and it gets me attention, so I'm not going to complain. Um, so I might try to be a little more controversial, but without compromising my integrity. I'm never going to be like hate mongering and encouraging everyone to be hateful in the comments and inciting hate against a specific person. I'm never going to do that. But um, and I'm also not going to make myself hateable for reasons that I don't actually feel. Like, I'm not going to come on and just be controversial for controversy's sake and say something that I don't even really believe. I'm only going to say things that I genuinely believe and can stand behind. But if what happened last year in June, go look at my channel if you don't know what I'm talking about, is any evidence of anything, it's that I can get attention um, in kind of a negative way. And attention is attention, you know? As long as people know my name, I'm getting somewhere. And I think the right people will eventually find me and continue supporting me if I keep doing it. Because eventually it's not going to look like I'm just tone deaf and I don't know what I'm talking about. People are going to realize I do know what I'm talking about, and they're the ones who are getting angry for no reason. So maybe I could do that. That might be kind of fun. Might actually get me some attention. I love getting views. I love seeing it go up, and I'm like, oh my god, there's comments, there's engagement. It's a surreal feeling. So, and I'm realizing a lot of the time I go viral, I do have a lot of people yelling at me because I often speak on controversial topics. So, when I go viral, I mean. So, I'll take it. I don't give a shit. It's hard to go viral when speaking on something you're genuinely passionate about and not getting any hate. So, why be picky? I'm not, beggars can't be choosers. I'll put it that way. Um, so, yeah. Um, Anyway, let's wrap this up. This has been a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. Um, what in conclusion do I want to say? Will Kamala Harris win? Right now, I want to say like 80%. For some reason, I almost wanted to say 88.8, which is like weirdly specific, but also just 3 eighths. Maybe 8 means something in numerology. I don't know. But, whatever. Not important. Um, but look into that. What does 888 mean? So, yeah, I feel good about it. And I'm excited. I'm very excited to see how this turns out in November. I had a very bleak outlook on it before Biden dropped out. But as soon as that happened, I was like, wait a minute. And now that I'm seeing people talk about her, I'm like, okay, this is happening. I can see this happening. My grandpa just got in the shower, so I am going to wrap this up because that is definitely something you can hear, and it's a little distracting. Thank you very much for tuning in. I want to make sure I said everything, though, because I feel like I have a couple incomplete thoughts that I didn't fully wrap up. Yeah, explained that, covered that, answered that. um, Dude, I don't know how many ways I can tell you to leave me alone. Like, I am genuinely going to block all of your accounts. Um, okay, that's kind of funny. Fool, comma, I not Dave. I not Dave. I didn't even say Dave's name, man. Like, clearly you're the same person. Oh my god. You can't make this shit up. There goes the comments. Deleted all of them. Yeah, from now on, I'm just gonna report every time you leave a comment. Not report. I'm gonna block all of your accounts. So if you want to leave comments, you're gonna have to keep making new accounts, and they're just gonna keep getting blocked. So have fun with that. I, I hate you. Like, just, I really, really wish you didn't exist. Um, maybe hopefully you'll slip in the shower and die. You know, go to hell. You go to hell, fucker. Good lord, what a creep. Do you know how it feels to just have someone just stuck to you like gum that you just cannot get off your shoe? Leave me alone, my god. Like, just, I am minding my own business. I'm talking on my channel. You're the one who's coming at me. Like, leave me the fuck alone. You have no idea how much I wish I could get police involved and just get your real information and find out who you are and get a fucking restraining order against you. And you need to get your internet taken away. You deserve to be in a goddamn straitjacket. Like, I'm being dead serious. You should not have internet access. You need one of those, like, bark phones that they give kids, you know? You need someone in charge of you and monitoring you. Because you are genuinely unhinged. Um, oh my god, this person is just insane. Okay. So, in conclusion, I treat people with compassion and respect, and I only say shit like that when they bring it on personally. Okay? I know you can't see a lot of these comments, but Um, and I know you don't know the conversations I've had with this person in private, but believe me, he is a very, very horrible, horrible person who's said and done horrible things and continues to do these horrible things to other YouTubers and just in general. It's just a complete leech and parasite of a person. I generally treat people well, treat people with respect and empathy and compassion, and all of my political values reflect that. Okay? And they come from a place of being educated and paying attention and intuition. Doesn't come from a place of ignorance. If you disagree, if you think that your political values come from your spirituality or whatever, you're probably religious, and your religion probably is just riddled with patriarchy, which, as we explained, just cripples men and forces women to be their caretakers. Zach will dump you. As if I didn't already know you were Dave. There's more evidence. For that's none of your business. But I was almost gonna make a joke. um, but yeah, no, Zach would never dump me. um, anyway, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching the replay. I would thank you for tuning in, but nobody actually tuned in and watched this live except my stalker. So, yeah, I just, I hope you have a good night. I am sorry for engaging with the stalker and making the video longer than it needed to be. I might start doing pre-recorded videos more frequently to avoid this problem. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to block as many of his accounts as I can. That's really all I can do. Because he signs into them so quickly. Like, the other time I did a live stream, he signed into, like, maybe, like, 10 of these accounts all in such a short span of time, just jumping back and forth, commenting on random shit that had nothing to do with what I was saying in the video. So, yeah, there's a lot. I have no idea how many he has, which is a little unnerving, but I can at least put a dent in them, you know? And he can't dislike my videos if he can't even see my channel if I've blocked him. So, yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Good night. And hopefully this gave you some hope and something to think about. Hopefully, if you were one of the people who was relieved disappointed that the bullet missed Trump, hopefully this was validating for you so that you know you don't have to feel guilty about that. It doesn't make you a bad person. I've heard a lot of that. Oh, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. You're not, because Trump is a bad person and a dangerous person, and you would have been perfectly in your right to be relieved by his death, you know, because as long as he's alive, every 4 years you're going to be afraid that he's going to run for an election. You might hope, oh, he'll croak in the next 4 years. He's too old. He could still run. He seems to be doing just fine. This dude just doesn't age. He's looked the same since 2016. So, yeah, like I said, all preservatives in this guy. So, who knows? But, hopefully this gave you hope. But vote. Seriously. It's very important that you vote against Trump. And Kamala is the only way to vote against Trump. I know you might think, oh, vote for Jill Stein or whatever. I promise you, a vote for Jill Stein is equivalent to not voting at all. It will not. Okay, well, this is one more reason that I really, really hope you slip and fall and die in the shower today. One less Trump voter. And then I won't have a stalker anymore. That would be nice. God, it'd be a miracle to just see this person completely leave me alone and disappear from my channel. He stresses me out every time I see him. Obviously, I don't really want anyone to die. I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone. But it would just be a relief, whatever it takes, to just not have this person be around anymore. Ideally, what I really hope for is that he has a change of heart and goes and gets some therapy and takes a break from his computer and stops watching YouTubers and being creepy. I hope that he becomes mentally healthy, and I hope the same thing for Trump. But realistically, I know it's not going to happen. I know these people are too far down the rabbit hole, and they're probably going to be like this till they die. So I just hope that day comes a little sooner before they're able to cause more damage in other people's lives. But, obviously it's not ideal either way. But it's on them. They're the ones who let themselves go down this rabbit hole. You need help for wishing death on someone. Yep. Clearly you did not watch the video that I just did, because that was literally the whole topic. But just shows how insane he is, right? Okay, so have a good night, and or at morning or afternoon, because maybe you're in a different time zone. Maybe you're not watching this live. In fact, I know you're not watching this live, because the only person watching it live is Dave, or whatever the real guy's name is. So, yeah. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Or on my other channel on Sunday. Link is in the description.